I am on the service road below the main cluster of towers on Mount Wilson, stepping around frost-thin patches of old snow that never fully melt in the shade. The air up here stays dry and sharp, even when the city below looks soft in the haze. I pull the truck into the maintenance bay, kill the engine, and listen for the usual things. Wind on sheet metal, the low fan noise from the equipment huts, the distant whine of a generator somewhere that never quite sounds healthy. Everything sounds normal enough that my brain tries to put today into the same folder as every other swap. Routine, paperwork, a few calls. Drive down before lunch. Day 4 after the first confirmed infections in the county. That is what the county alert said on my phone before the signal started behaving weird on the climb. Day 4 since the first press conference that had the wrong kind of calm in it. Day 4 of everybody in Los Angeles arguing about whether this is real, whether it is contained, whether it is political, whether it is a hoax, whether it is panic. Day 4 of me telling myself that I fix equipment, I do not fix people. I keep the microwave paths clean. I keep the repeaters alive. I keep the emergency channels readable. I do my job and go home. I have a service badge on a retractable clip, a hard hat, a tool case with hand tools and a meter, and a sealed box with the replacement module for a microwave hop that has been throwing alarms for a week. My supervisor signed off on the swap yesterday afternoon. He called me late last night and asked if I still felt comfortable going up. I told him yes, because I did not want to be the person who said no while the county was still pretending it had a plan. I told him yes, because there is always a reason to go up the mountain, and I know this place better than most people who talk about it. The first thing I notice once I'm out of the truck is the quiet under the normal noise. The site always has some life. A contractor van, a broadcast tech, a security patrol, someone checking tower lights, someone redoing a ground strap. Today there are no other vehicles in the lot. No fresh tire tracks. No coffee cups in the trash. The security shack windows reflect sky and nothing else. I walk to the access door of the first equipment building and badge in. The lock clicks, and the door opens with the usual resistance from the gasket. Inside, the air is cooler and smells faintly of dust and electronics. The fans and power supplies make a steady mechanical chorus. The racks are full of labeled units and patch panels. I set my tool case down, put on nitrile gloves out of habit, and start the swap in the same order every time. Verify alarms, confirm power rails, log serial numbers, pull the old unit, seat the new one, torque the screws, check the waveguide connection, rerun the link test, log the results. My phone has one bar, then none, then one again, drifting between hope and nothing. I tap out a quick update to my supervisor anyway. On site, starting swap, will call after link test. It does not send. I set the phone down and keep working. It feels better to focus on things that respond when I touch them. 2 hours in, I have the link stable and the alarms cleared. I plug a laptop into the management port, scroll through the graphs, and watch the error rate settle where it belongs. The backhaul looks clean. The emergency radio feed that shares this path is still passing audio. It is not my job to listen to the content, but I keep it up on a small speaker anyway. It is mostly short transmissions and a lot of silence. A dispatcher voice comes through, tired and clipped, asking units to conserve fuel and stop responding to non-critical calls. Another voice answers and gets cut off mid-sentence, then silence again. I walk outside to stretch my legs, take a drink of water, and look out over the city. The view from here is always too big, and on a normal day it makes people talk about how lucky they are. Today it makes me count things without meaning to. Smoke columns in the basin, traffic frozen on a few major arteries, not moving, Too many cars packed too close for it to be a normal crash. A patchwork of neighborhoods where the lights still hold, and others where the grid has gone dark in rough blocks. Sirens still exist down there, but the pattern is wrong. It is not the usual rise and fall of a few engines. It is a constant layer that keeps starting and stopping. A city trying to respond and then losing coordination. Then, over the next hour, the sirens thin out. The sound does not end all at once. It just loses density until the wind and the equipment fans up here feel louder than the basin. The service road that runs down toward the Angeles Crest Highway is visible from one of the turns. I walk to the overlook where I can see it better. The road is not blocked right here. It is blocked farther down, where it joins the highway. Even from this distance, I can see the shine of parked cars at odd angles, too many to be a normal backup. A few doors are open. One vehicle sits with its hazard lights blinking in the thin daylight. Nobody moves around it. I go back inside and check the site cameras. The system is old but functional, mostly for vandalism and weather damage. I pull up the view of the main gate. It is closed. Nobody is there. I pull up the view of the lower switchbacks. There is no moving vehicle, no hiker, no security patrol. I feel the shape of the day changing, not in a dramatic way, in a way that says the mountain is turning into an island. I call my supervisor on the landline in the equipment room. It rings and rings, then goes to a recording. I call the other tech who is normally on duty for the east side. Straight to voicemail, I call the security company number posted by the door. A busy signal, then nothing. I sit for a few seconds with the receiver in my hand, listening to empty line noise. I do what I always do when I do not know what else to do. I start making a list. Fuel status on the backup generators. Battery bank health on the main shelter. Water in the utility closet. Food options. Access points. Locks. Radios. I am not a survival guy. I do not have a bunker. I have a rental apartment in Burbank and a refrigerator that is probably still running right now. I have a little emergency bag in my truck because the mountain gets snow and people get stuck. A couple of protein bars, a basic first aid kit, a blanket, a flashlight, a portable charger, a compact rain jacket. It is not a plan for days. The site has more resources than my truck. That is the part that creeps into my thinking and refuses to leave. There is diesel for the generators. There are huge battery cabinets that could run critical loads for a while if the grid drops. There are maintenance stores, spare filters, spare fans, spare cables, and a water dispenser jug in one of the break corners. There is also something else. Locked equipment rooms full of functioning communications. If the city is coming apart, working communications are not neutral. Working communications make people walk toward you. The first real confirmation comes in a broken phone call that finally connects from my mother. It is not a full conversation. It is a burst of sound, then her voice saying my name once, then a lot of noise behind her that I cannot place. Then the line drops. I call back, until I get nothing. I stare at the phone and do not trust it anymore. I pull up the emergency radio feed again and turn the volume up a little, then down, then up, trying to decide what I want to hear. A voice comes through with a shaky edge, asking if anyone has a working route out of the valley. Another voice answers with a street name and then says, "Do not go toward the hospitals." The dispatcher cuts in and repeats the instruction to conserve fuel. Somebody says there are attacks on paramedics. Somebody else says the freeway ramps are blocked by abandoned vehicles and people are walking between lanes. I am still telling myself the city will stabilize. That is the story my brain likes. Stabilize means the National Guard shows up, The hospitals catch up. The police get a plan. The news stops panicking. And I drive down before dark and pretend this was a weird day at work. That story stays alive for maybe one more hour. The grid hiccups again in the basin. A wide patch of the valley loses power and does not come back. The darkness is visible even in daylight, a faint shift where streetlights and signs should be. I watch long enough to see a second patch go out closer to the river line. It is not a clean failure. It is a collapsing pattern. It looks like load is being shed, and nothing is there to pick it up. I go to the generator building and check the gauges. The primary generator is in auto mode, ready to start when the grid drops. The tank is not full, but it is not empty either. I do the math with the numbers on the panel and realize I am guessing. I find the maintenance log binder and flip to the fuel delivery page. Last delivery was 9 days ago. The note says topped to 80%. That is good for a normal outage. It is not good for a world that forgets this mountain exists. I walk the perimeter of the main equipment building. The fences are sturdy but built for keeping people from wandering into high voltage areas, not for keeping determined people out. The gates are heavy but not reinforced. The doors are steel with decent locks, and most of the buildings require a badge. A badge is only useful until someone decides it is simpler to break something. At 3:20 p.m., I hear a vehicle far down the service road. I freeze where I stand and listen again. The sound is faint, then stronger, then it dies. I walk fast to the camera monitor and pull up the lower switchback view. A white utility truck is stopped sideways in the road, nose toward the drop-off. A man is out of it, standing with the driver door open, looking downhill. Another man gets out of the passenger side and kicks something on the road. Then both men climb back in and the truck reverses awkwardly, trying to turn around in a space that is too tight. I watch until the truck finally points downhill and crawls away. No attempt to come up to the gate, no call on the intercom, no wave, just a hard decision to leave. I do not feel relief. I feel the opposite. People are turning around because the route down is blocked, and because nobody thinks the mountain can help them. If the city is eating itself, that calculation will change. Someone will remember the antennas. Someone will remember that these buildings have power and locks and radios. I make a choice that feels small but is not. I stop transmitting non-essential services. I do not shut down emergency channels. I do not shut down the repeater paths that keep fire dispatch audible. I shut down a few commercial links that serve convenience, not survival. I reduce the footprint. I reroute power so critical loads sit on the battery bank with the generator ready, and I keep the grid input live until it fails. I also do something I have never done in my life. I bring my truck inside the fenced area, close to the main building, and I lock it. Then I go back in and drag a heavy rolling tool chest against the interior of the main access door. It is not a perfect barricade. It is a delay. It is something that makes a person work harder to get in. Night comes clean up here. The sky goes dark fast after the last light slips behind the ridge, and the city below becomes a field of scattered light with holes spreading through it. The towers blink their obstruction lights in steady patterns. A few of them stop blinking, then start again, then stop, depending on who still has power for their systems. I eat one of the bars from my truck, drink water, and sit in the equipment room with the radio feed low. I do not sleep much. I check the cameras every 20 minutes. I walk the building and put my hand on the doors, feeling for vibrations, listening for any change. Every time the wind hits a loose panel outside, my brain tries to turn it into footsteps. I do not let it. I confirm. I watch the camera. I keep moving. At 1:40 a.m., the grid drops. It is not dramatic. The lights flicker once, then the emergency lighting takes over, and a second later, the generator kicks in with a deep mechanical sound that fills the building for a moment, until the mufflers and walls swallow it. The equipment racks never go dark. The systems do not crash. Everything does what it is designed to do. The problem with that success is simple. Noise. A running generator is a signature. Light leaking from vents is a signature. A working radio link is a signature. I stand by the camera monitor and stare at the gate, waiting for someone to appear even though nobody could have seen the lights from down there yet. At 2:10 a.m., a call comes in on the site landline. I stare at the phone with suspicion, then pick up without speaking. A woman's voice says, "Mount Wilson site, maintenance. Anyone there?" Her tone is controlled, tired, and sharp around the edges. Not a prank voice, not a salesperson. I answer, "This is Javier Reyes, technician. Who is this?" She says, "Tasha Nguyen, paramedic. I am at a county station down in Pasadena. Or I was. The radio is half dead. Someone said this mountain still has power. I got through on an old list. Are you safe?" The question hits me harder than it should, because it is the first time anyone has asked it in a way that feels real. I do not say yes. I do not say no. I say, "I am alone. The road down is blocked. The gate is closed. What is happening down there?" Tasha Nguyen takes a breath that I can hear in the line noise. She says, "Ambulances got hit. People started grabbing supplies off stretchers. Some patients attacked staff. It is not just panic. Some people do not respond to pain. Some people keep moving after injuries that should drop a person. Calls are stacking. Dispatch told crews to stop responding unless it is a life threat. Every call is a life threat." I say, "Are you infected?" She says, "No, I would not be calling if she was infected." She does not correct herself. She says it again, slower, making the line between person and problem. She is not infected. She is walking. I do not ask what that means. I already know what it means. Day 4. Rumors, grainy videos, people arguing about whether it is drugs, rabies, violence, hysteria. I have been trying to hold on to normal. Tasha Nguyen is not holding on to normal. She is calling a mountain relay station at 2 in the morning because normal died on the street. She says, "Listen, I am not asking you to open the gate. I am asking if the emergency repeaters can stay up. If you shut down, crews lose the last channel that still reaches the mountain foothills. The county system is failing. I can hear units dropping off one by one." I look at the generator panel through the open door. I look at the fuel numbers again. I think about a long outage and the fact that the generator does not care about justice or good intentions. It burns what it burns. I say, I can keep critical up for a while. I cannot promise longer than the fuel holds. I am not getting resupplied. Tasha says, "Understood. One more thing. Someone else is going up." My hand tightens on the phone receiver without me thinking about it. I say, "Who?" She says, "A guy online, streamer. He keeps telling people the station is a fortress. He is posting maps. He is telling people it has food and power. He says he is hiking up with a group. He is encouraging others to follow." I say, "What is his name?" She says, "He goes by Pike. Real name unknown. He has a camera strapped to his chest. He's talking a lot. He is not subtle." I put my eyes on the camera monitor again. I can see the lower switchbacks. Nothing moves there right now. I picture strangers climbing toward my locked door because a person chasing attention told them to. I picture the same strangers arriving hungry and angry because the climb cost them something. I picture the generator humming all night because I refuse to shut it down. Tasha says, I am going up too, not with him. I am leaving at daylight. I have one pack, one radio, and no partner. I am done pretending the city is going to save anyone. If you do not want me there, say it now, and I will turn around at the first switchback. I am warning you because you deserve warning. This is where the clean choice should exist. Keep the site hidden. Keep the doors locked. Keep the radios minimal. Survive alone. That is the choice that looks best on paper. The other choice brings complications, betrayal risk, resource drain, noise. The other choice is human. I do not answer right away. I walk to the door, look out through the small, reinforced window, and watch the darkness outside. I think about the alternative. I think about being one person on a mountain with a generator and a locked door while the city below tears itself apart. I think about getting sick or injured and having no one to notice. I think about a group of strangers arriving anyway because Pike posted the route, and me facing that alone. I say, come up at daylight, approach the gate slow, call on the maintenance line when you reach it. Do not bring extra people. Tasha says, understood. She pauses, then adds, thank you. The call ends. I stand there with the receiver still in my hand, hearing the deadline. I set it down and go back to the generator building. I lower output to the minimum needed for critical loads. I shut off exterior lighting that does not matter. I cover a vent where light leaks. I move a second tool chest to reinforce another door. I do not know if any of it helps. It is still action, and action keeps my mind from spiraling. At dawn, the mountain looks calm enough to trick a person again. The sky is bright, the air is cold, and the towers stand the same way they always stand. Down in the basin, smoke is thicker. The freeways still do not move. A line of dark vehicles snakes up a canyon road and stops. No emergency lights. No help. I watch the lower camera feeds and wait. At 7:50 a.m., a figure appears on the far switchback. One person, moving steady, a pack on the back, head down, walking with purpose. I zoom the camera and see a woman, hair tied back, jacket dirty at the elbows, one strap taped with black tape. She stops once, drinks water, keeps going. Not a tourist, not a climber out for fun. At 8:20 a.m., the gate intercom buzzes. I do not answer immediately. I check every camera angle I can. No second person. No one hiding behind the brush. No movement on the slope. I answer, say your name. Tasha's voice comes through, faint and winded but controlled. Tasha Nguyen, alone. I step away from the intercom and go to the gate control. I open it halfway, enough for a person to slip through, not enough for a truck to roll in fast. I keep my eyes on the camera while I do it. Tasha enters the fenced area and stops, hands visible, palms open for a second. Then she points to her pack strap where a small portable radio sits. She taps it once, then steps back from the gate so I can close it behind her. I meet her at the main building door, staying a few feet back. She looks older than she probably is because exhaustion does that to a person. There is dried dirt on her knees. Her eyes keep flicking to the fences, the buildings, the towers, evaluating. She does not look at me with warmth. She looks at me with calculation and relief that she does not want to show. I say, rules, no wandering alone, no touching equipment without asking, no calls on open channels unless we decide together. Food and water get logged. She nods. Good. I let her inside and close the door. I do not offer a hug. I do not offer comfort talk. I point her toward the small break corner with a chair, a countertop, and a sink. I hand her a bottle of water from my truck supply and a packet of crackers from the emergency kit. She eats without ceremony, eyes scanning the room while she chews. While she eats, I ask for a short report. Not a story, not a speech, just facts. Tasha gives facts. Hospitals overwhelmed, ambulances stolen, police response fragmented, multiple fires, people moving on foot in groups. A rumor that infection spreads through bites and fluids. Another rumor that it also spreads through close contact with a person who is coughing blood. She does not pretend she knows which is true. She tells me what she saw. A man in a waiting room who stood up after being restrained and knocked two people down without reacting to strikes that should have stopped him. A woman on a sidewalk who kept walking after a vehicle hit her at low speed, dragging a broken leg and still reaching for a paramedic's vest. I do not ask for more detail than that. I keep my face steady and my hands busy, checking the battery bank readout and logging fuel consumption on paper. I show her where the bathrooms are, where the first aid kit is, where the spare blankets are stored. I assign her a sleeping spot on a clean patch of floor in a side office with a door that locks from inside. She does not argue. She checks the corners, checks the window, checks the door latch, and then sits down with her back against the wall. At 9:30 a.m., another figure appears on the lower camera, then two, then three. They move in a loose line, stopping often, pointing at the towers as if the towers are proof that their plan was smart. One of them holds a phone out in front, filming. Even through the pixelated feed, the person's posture reads loud. I tell Tasha, he is coming. She stands immediately, wipes her hands on her pants, and walks to the monitor. She watches for 10 seconds and says, "He brought friends." I zoom the camera. 4 people total, 2 men, 2 women, packs. One person carrying a long stick that could be a hiking pole or something else. The lead guy keeps looking at his phone and then up at the road. The phone is not for navigation. It is for showing an audience that he is brave. Tasha says, "Do not open the gate." I nod. But the problem is not only the gate. The problem is that these people arrived early. That means other people might arrive too. The signal that kept emergency channels alive might also be feeding Pike's idea that this place matters. Even if I never answer him, the generator noise and tower lights say enough. The intercom buzzes at 10:15 a.m. I do not answer. It buzzes again, then again longer. A voice comes through the speaker without me touching anything, because he is using the call button and the system auto-amplifies. "Mount Wilson Station. You got people out here. Open up. This is Pike. We are not infected. We are here to help." I glance at Tasha. She is watching the monitor, eyes hard, jaw set. She says nothing. She does not have to. I go to the intercom and answer. "Gate stays closed. Leave." Pike's voice changes immediately. The calm drops. "You cannot do that. This is public infrastructure. This is emergency. You got power. You got space. There are people dying down there." I keep my voice flat. "Leave. If you do not, I shut down the systems you came for." He laughs once, sharp. "You will not shut down. You are the radio guy. Your whole job is helping people. Open the gate. Let me talk to your supervisor." I do not answer that. There is no supervisor right now. There is no ladder to climb for permission. There is only the door and the fact that the people outside can become a problem. Tasha moves closer and speaks low so the intercom does not pick it up. If he wants to help, he will leave and stop advertising the mountain. He is not here to help. He is here to own it. I tell Pike, walk back down. Do not come back. Pike says, no. Then his voice shifts into performance. Everyone listening, you heard that. He is locking up the station. He is choosing himself. We are going to stay here until he opens. This is the safe place. This is where we ride it out. One of Pike's companions moves off camera for a moment. Another walks toward the fence line and peers through. The person with the stick taps the fence in a way that tests it. Not hard enough to break anything, just enough to see what the fence feels like. I step away from the intercom. I do not argue. Arguing is oxygen for a person who lives for attention. I walk back to the equipment rack and make a controlled change. I shift more systems into low power mode. I shut down another commercial link. I reduce transmitter output on anything that does not need full strength. I keep the emergency channels alive on a narrow schedule. It feels wrong and necessary at the same time. Tasha watches me work. She says, if he cannot get a reaction, he might leave. I say, or he might escalate. At noon, Pike and the group stop pressing the intercom and start setting up camp outside the gate. I see backpacks on the ground. I see someone unroll a sleeping pad. I see Pike pacing while talking to his phone. The stance says he is giving an update to an audience. The way he points at the towers says he is selling a story that puts him at the center. I do not know how long they can stay. They have water in packs, maybe. Food, maybe. The climb cost them calories. The sun up here dries a person out fast. If Pike brought them up on a promise of a fortress, and they do not get it, he will need a new plan to keep control. At 1:20 p.m., another figure appears on the lower switchbacks. Then a second. Not part of Pike's group. These two move differently. Slower, not coordinated. One of them stops and turns in a full circle, as if lost even though the road is a line. The other stumbles once, catches on the guardrail, then keeps going without checking the hand that hit metal. I zoom the camera and feel my skin go cold in a way that does not need words. Their clothes hang wrong. Their steps are uneven. One person's head keeps jerking to the side, scanning without focus. The spacing between them is too tight for strangers. It is the spacing of a pair moving on the same instinct. Tasha looks at the monitor and says, "Infected." Pike does not see them yet. His camp is by the gate, with his back to the lower road. I watch the infected walk closer, drawn up the road by whatever sound or smell or movement pulls them. Wind carries generator noise downhill. Human voices at the gate carry farther than Pike thinks. I could warn Pike. The idea shows up in my head, unwanted. The next idea follows immediately. Warning Pike means he will run to the gate and demand entry harder. Warning Pike means he will turn his audience into a weapon. Warning Pike means he will do anything to get inside, and he will justify it as survival. Tasha says, if he dies out there, you will hear screaming for hours. It will attract more. I do not answer. I move fast to the intercom and press the button. I keep it brief, no emotion. 2 infected on the road below. Get away from the gate, leave the site now. For a moment, Pike does not understand. Then his voice comes through the speaker, sharp and high. Open the gate. Open it now. They are coming. The infected reach the outer fence line within minutes. One of Pike's companions runs toward the fence and tries to climb it, then drops back, grabbing at the metal in a frantic way that gets nowhere. Pike backs up and swings his phone around, still filming even now, voice rising into a frantic narration. The infected hit the fence without strategy. Hands on metal, faces pressed to the chain links, pulling and pushing in aimless force. They do not climb, they do not think. They just keep leaning into the barrier because it is between them and people. Pike's group scatters along the fence line, looking for a weak spot. One woman runs toward the slope and slips on loose gravel, catches herself, scrambles up anyway. One man tries the gate latch from outside and pounds on it when it does not move. Pike presses his face to the gate bars and yells, "You have to open! You have to! You are killing us!" I stand inside, hands on the intercom and gate control, and feel the decision in my teeth. If I open, I let in 5 strangers under pressure with infected at their heels. If I open and then try to close, I risk the infected pushing through the gap. If I keep it closed, Pike's group might get bitten outside, and then the mountain has more infected moving around. Tasha steps beside me and says, "Open only the man door. 1 person at a time, pick who gets in." That choice is brutal, and it is still the only choice that has shape. I do not open the vehicle gate. I open the narrow pedestrian access, just enough for 1 person. I yell through the speaker, "1 person, no camera. If you rush, it closes." Pike lunges first. He does not drop the phone. He tries to squeeze through and angle the camera inward. I slam the control. The pedestrian door snaps shut on the metal stop, cutting him off halfway. He jerks back, cursing without words that would get me in trouble later if I repeat them. He screams, "Open it! You promised!" I do not respond. I wait 2 seconds, then open again. Tasha picks. Tasha leans toward the speaker. Drop the phone, hands empty, 1 at a time. One of the women drops her pack, drops her phone, and runs to the door with both hands up. She slips through fast. I shut it behind her. She is crying, whispering, staring at the fence where the infected keep clawing at metal. Tasha grabs her by the shoulders and pushes her away from the gate, toward the building, giving her a direction so she does not freeze. The second person who follows is the other woman, then the second man. Each one comes through with hands visible. Each one gets shoved away from the gate and told to move. The infected are still at the fence, still pressing, still making the metal shake. Pike is still outside, still holding his phone. He screams, "You cannot leave me out here. I brought you help. I brought you viewers. I brought you attention. Open the door." The way he says it reveals him. He thinks attention is a currency that buys entry. He thinks the mountain is a stage and I am a character he can control. He steps closer to the pedestrian door again, trying to angle his body in. Tasha says, he will not drop the phone. I keep my hand on the control. I say into the speaker, "Drop it or you stay." Pike lifts the phone higher, defiant, and shouts into it, "He is refusing. He is refusing. This is the real outbreak, the real monsters." He turns his head to the fence and realizes 1 infected has shifted, drawn by his voice. The infected moves along the fence line toward him, hands sliding on metal. Pike finally hesitates, not because he understands danger, because he realizes the camera is not protecting him. He looks at the phone, then at the fence, then at the phone again, and his pride fights his survival. He drops the phone. I open the pedestrian door. He runs through without looking back. I slam it shut the moment he clears. The phone stays on the gravel outside, screen up, still recording whatever it can see through the gate bars. Inside the fence, Pike stumbles, turns, and tries the door again, shouting that he needs his phone. Tasha steps in front of him, blocking his path with her body. She does not threaten. She just stands there and says, "Leave it. Move away from the gate, now." Pike's eyes flick to me. He is waiting for me to overrule her. He is waiting for me to become his audience. I do not give him that. I point toward the building and say, inside. Doors closed. You do not go back to the gate. We get everyone inside, lock the main door, and then stand by the camera monitor again. Outside, the infected keep pressing the fence. They do not stop because the phone is there. They stop only when the people are gone and the noise lowers. 10 minutes later, one infected wanders along the fence line, then loses focus and drifts back toward the road. The other lingers longer, hands on metal, head tilted. Then it also drifts. Inside, Pike's group collapses into the break corner and the hallway floor, shaking in ways I can see without naming. Pike keeps talking, trying to frame what happened into a story where he is still the hero. He almost left me. He almost left me out there. You saw that. You all saw that. Tasha says, "Stop talking." Pike says, "You cannot tell me." I cut in, "This is not your channel. This is my facility. If you cannot follow rules, you leave." Pike stares at me, jaw working, searching for a leverage point. Then he remembers his phone is outside, and his audience is outside with it, and he goes quiet in a way that looks more dangerous than his yelling. He sits down, eyes tracking the doors and the racks, calculating. I do not trust any of them. I also cannot unring the bell. They are here now, inside the fence, in the buildings, breathing my air, watching what I do. The mountain has become what I feared, a place people claim. I start a new list on paper and tape it to the wall. Names, supplies, rules, shifts, door control, battery status, fuel burn rate. I assign tasks immediately, not because I want to play leader, but because idle people create problems. One of the women, Erin Delgado, says she used to work in property management and can clean and organize. The other woman, Mia Park, says she hikes and can carry and move. The man, Connor Hale, says he is an electrician. Pike refuses to give a real name and says Pike is fine. That tells me everything I need. Connor asks to see the generator building. I tell him no at first. Then I reconsider because I do not have the skills to repair a generator if it fails. I walk him there myself, watch his hands, watch his eyes. He points out a filter that should be swapped soon and a belt that looks worn. His focus seems real. He does not ask about radios or broadcast gear. That reduces my suspicion by a small amount. Erin and Mia clean the break corner and find more water jugs than I knew were there, sealed in a cabinet. They also find a case of snack packs meant for crews that never showed up. It is not a feast, but it stretches our timeline enough that I stop thinking in hours and start thinking in days. Pike watches everything. He tries to drift toward the camera monitor. I step between him and it and tell him to sit. He smiles in a way that feels practiced and says, "You need media. You need someone to tell the story right. People will come for you anyway, Javier. You can control the narrative." I say, "No narrative, no posts, no filming. If you had not posted the route, you would not be here." He starts to respond, then sees Tasha watching him with a blank stare that does not invite debate. He shifts tactics and says, "Fine, no filming. I will help. I can climb. I can scout. I can run a perimeter." Tasha says, "You will not leave the building alone." That becomes the pattern for the rest of the day. Every time Pike offers help, it comes with a hook that gives him access. Every time we cut the hook, he does not like it. He tolerates it. Late afternoon, the emergency radio feed changes. A dispatcher voice comes through, cracked and slow, saying units are out of service due to fuel. A different voice cuts in, saying the main dispatch center is relocating. Another voice says there is no relocation plan. Then the channel fills with overlapping transmissions for a few minutes, then collapses into silence that lasts too long. I sit at the rack, headset on, and make a hard decision. Keeping the repeaters up is draining fuel that we may need for our own power. Keeping them up also pulls attention. Still, shutting them down feels like turning off the last streetlight in a storm. Tasha kneels beside me and says, "If crews cannot talk, more people die." I say, "If we run out of fuel, all of us die." We find a compromise. I schedule the emergency relay to transmit on intervals. 10 minutes up, 20 minutes down, repeating. Enough for someone listening to catch a window if they keep trying. Not enough to broadcast a constant signal for hours. It is not perfect. It is still something. That night, we post watches. 2 hours each, rotating. I keep the first watch. I do not trust anyone else with the door control yet. Tasha takes the second watch with me sitting nearby, pretending to sleep while I watch her reflection in the monitor glass. Aaron takes third. Connor takes fourth. Mia takes fifth. Pike complains that he needs rest and that he did the climb, and Tasha tells him his rest is a privilege bought by not being left outside the gate. He stops complaining. Around midnight, headlights appear far below on a canyon road. One vehicle, moving slow, then stopping. The lights stay on for a long time, pointed into nothing. Then they turn off. A while later, a small orange glow appears in the basin. A building on fire, maybe. It is too far to tell. The glow grows, then fades. At 1:15 a.m., the gate camera catches movement again. Not from the road, from the brush line near a service fence section where the slope meets a maintenance path. A single person, climbing, then slipping, then climbing again. No pack, no light. The person moves with urgency, and the path choice is wrong. The person is not using the road. The person is avoiding it. I wake Tasha without shouting. She stands and watches the monitor, eyes narrowing. "Human," she says. "Not infected. Too coordinated." The figure reaches the fence and grabs it, not to push, but to steady. The person leans close to the mesh and looks in. Even through the camera, I can see a face turning side to side, scanning for cameras, scanning for lights, scanning for a weakness. Then a second figure appears behind the first, then a third. Tasha says, "This is because of him." She does not have to say Pike's name. The connection is obvious. The mountain got advertised. The mountain has power. People are coming. The three figures move along the fence line toward the gate. They do not press the intercom. They do not announce themselves. One of them carries a pry bar. That is visible even with the low resolution because of the shape and how it reflects the security light from a nearby tower. I tighten the interior barricade on the main door and tell Tasha to wake Connor. I do not want to fight, and I do not want to panic. I want preparation. Connor comes out fast, pulling on boots, face tight. Aaron and Mia wake too, drawn by the movement. Pike wakes last. He sits up, squinting, then sees the monitor and immediately starts to talk. "This is it. This is the moment. Open the gate and tell them we have a system. We can build a community up here. We can..." Tasha snaps, "Stop!" I do not open anything. I watch the trespassers reach the gate. One tries the latch. It holds. Another wedges the pry bar into a hinge seam and leans. The gate flexes but does not give. The third stands back, scanning the cameras. He finds one and stares directly into it for a second, then points upward. A silent signal to the others. The building is occupied. I pick up the intercom. "This is a restricted facility. Leave now." The man who stared into the camera steps closer and speaks into the gate bars, voice loud enough to carry through. "Open it, Javier. We are not here to hurt you. We are here because the city is dead. We saw the stream. We know you got supplies." My stomach drops at hearing my name from a stranger's mouth. Pike flinches beside me. His expression is not guilt. It is annoyance that his stunt turned into consequences that are no longer fun. I say into the intercom, "Leave. If you do not, I cut power and you get nothing." The man laughs once. "You will not cut power. You will not cut emergency. You are the good guy. Open the gate." Tasha murmurs, "He is confident. He has more people nearby." I scan other cameras. Sure enough, 2 more figures appear on the lower path, moving up. Not close yet, but coming. This is the moment where the mountain stops being a shelter and becomes a target. I decide to change the problem. I shut down the exterior floodlights around the gate. Darkness is not total up here because the towers have their own markers, but the gate area loses the clean visibility the trespassers want. Then I shift the generator load again and cut power to the building nearest the fence line that leaks the most light. The sight becomes less inviting in a small way. The man at the gate pounds the bars. "You think darkness stops us?" Connor steps close and speaks quietly to me. "If they get tools on the hinges, the gate will fail eventually. Not fast, but eventually. Better to relocate inside deeper. Make 1 point of entry." Relocate. The word sounds too rational for what is happening. Still, the suggestion makes sense. The site has multiple buildings, but only one has the strongest doors and the best interior rooms. The main equipment building. If we retreat there, we control fewer doors. We also abandon the idea of being generous. We accept the reality that strangers will take what they can. I tell Aaron and Mia to grab food and water and bring it to the main building. I tell Connor to grab any spare belts and filters and bring them too. I tell Tasha to stay with me at the monitor and watch the trespassers. Pike starts to move toward the door, eyes wide, and I stop him with one sentence. "You carry water. You do not talk." The trespassers keep working the gate. They do not rush. They test, they pry, they lean, they step back, they adjust. That calm tells me they have done this before. They are not desperate first-timers. They are practiced scavengers wearing the mask of fairness. By 2:40 a.m., our supplies are staged in the main building. The group is tight, tired, silent. The generator keeps running. Every minute burns fuel. Every minute makes noise. I look at the panel and then at the people behind me and realize something I have avoided until now. I am not keeping the repeaters alive for the city anymore. I am keeping them alive for this building, for the locks, for the cameras, for the lights, for the barrier between us and the world outside. The gate finally gives at 3:12 a.m. Not fully, not a dramatic collapse, just a hinge pin that slips enough for the gate to sag and open a gap. One trespasser squeezes through, then another, then the man who knew my name. They move fast toward the nearest building, not toward the main building, because they assume the easiest loot is in the first place with power. I watch them on the cameras and do not move to confront. I do not run outside. I do not shout. I pull the camera feed back to the main building doors and check our locks. Connor tightens the interior barricade. Tasha stands near the hallway with a fire extinguisher in hand. It is not a weapon in a heroic sense. It is a tool that can buy seconds if a door gets forced. Pike whispers, "This is insane. You have to negotiate." I look at him and speak low. You negotiated with your audience. That is why we are here. Be quiet. The trespassers break into a smaller utility room first. I hear it faintly even through walls, a metallic bang and then the sharper sound of a door being yanked. They move through quickly, disappointed. Then they try another building. Another bang, another door. Then voices carry faintly through the night, angry and excited in turns. One voice shouts, "Main building, that one." Footsteps hit gravel. The camera shows 3 figures moving fast toward our door. Behind them, more figures appear now through the gate gap. 5, 6, 7. The group is larger than the first 3. That is why the first 3 were calm. They were only the tip. They reach our main door and hit it with shoulders. The door holds. They try the handle, it does not move. They slam again, then step back. I see one raise a pry bar. Tasha does not speak. She just shifts her stance, feet planted, extinguisher ready, eyes on the seam of the door. Connor stays near the hinge side with a heavy tool in hand. Aaron and Mia crouch back in the hallway, arms tight around water jugs. Pike is breathing loud enough that I want to tell him to stop, but I do not waste words. The pry bar wedges into the door seam and scrapes, metal on metal. The door flexes slightly, then stops. The lock is strong. The frame is reinforced. It is not built for this, but it is better than the gate. I go to the rack and look at the power distribution. I can do something that changes the night. I can shut off the generator and let the site go dark. The battery bank can carry the critical gear silently for a while if I cut the loud loads. Cameras, minimal lighting, door controls, and the core communications rack can run quiet. If I do that, the trespassers lose the easy target. They lose the assumption that power equals profit. They might leave. They also might get angry and keep prying until the battery dies, and we lose everything anyway. Still, staying loud feels worse. Loud is a signal. Loud invites more. I shut down the generator. The building dips into emergency lighting for a half second, then stabilizes on battery. The fans keep running, but at a softer level. The exterior lights go out. The towers still blink, but the site stops broadcasting its comfort. Outside, the trespassers pause, confused. One slams the door again. Another shouts, "He killed the power!" A different voice answers, "Break in anyway. Take the batteries. Take the fuel." They keep working the door. The pry bar scrapes again. The door does not give. Tasha shifts forward and puts her hand on my arm for a second, a small pressure that says she noticed what I did. And she agrees. 10 minutes later, something changes outside that none of us control. A sound rises from down the road. Not a vehicle, not a voice. A messy chorus of human noise, moving, uneven, closer than it should be at this hour. The trespassers at our door stop and turn their heads toward it. One of them jogs a few steps away from the door and peers into the darkness. The camera feed is grainy in low light, but I see shapes on the road. Many shapes. A loose cluster drifting uphill toward the gate gap, drawn by earlier voices, drawn by the activity. Infected. More than 2, more than 10. The trespassers swear and scatter, sprinting away from the gate line. Some run toward their entry point, then realize the infected are coming through it. Some run deeper into the site, toward the towers and the buildings, searching for another exit. One trespasser turns back toward our door and pounds hard. "Open, open, let us in!" I do not answer. Not because I want him dead, because opening now means letting panic and infected pressure crash into our hallway. Because the trespassers chose their path. They pried open the gate. They brought this onto the mountain. The infected hit the gate area and spread through the opening, hands reaching, stumbling forward with the same mindless persistence. The trespassers run. One falls near the fence and scrambles up. Another gets caught against a building wall and pushes past an infected, slipping away only because the infected moves wrong and grabs air. The yard becomes a trap of their own making. Metal fences and narrow paths that looked like a fortress now funnel people into corners. The infected do not get tired. They do not decide to stop. They follow movement. Inside the building, nobody speaks for a long time. We listen to impacts outside, muffled by walls. We watch the camera feed until the battery load forces me to turn screens off and check them in short bursts. Each time I bring the feed up, I see more infected drifting in through the gate gap, drawn to the site. At first light, the yard is occupied by a scattered crowd of infected that wanders between buildings, bumping into fences, reaching at doors, moving away when nothing responds. The trespassers are gone. Some escaped down the slope. Some did not. I do not search for the details. I do not need them to understand the lesson. We make it through the morning on battery and low output. The generator stays off. The silence feels safer. Tasha and Connor patch the weakest interior door seam with metal brackets from a storage shelf. Aaron organizes supplies and starts a strict ration log. Mia walks the interior with a notepad and marks every window, every vent, every point that could be forced. Pike sits in the corner and stares at nothing for hours. He tries once to argue that we should go retrieve his phone. Tasha tells him no. He tries again later with a softer voice, saying the phone has contacts, it has maps, it has his life. I tell him the phone is bait now, and any person who walks to it becomes bait too. He stops asking. Resentment stays in his face. By afternoon, we accept that the mountain has a new reality. Infected can reach the site if humans lead them. Humans will come if humans hear about power and shelter. Roads do not matter anymore in the way they used to. The highway down is still blocked. The city does not send help. The county does not call back. The mountain is not a work site. It is a small, occupied facility with a shrinking fuel supply and a growing reputation. I bring the emergency relay up on schedule again. Short windows, low power. I do not broadcast a welcome message. I do not say this place is safe. I say one thing, in a flat voice that tries to carry no invitation and no cruelty. Mount Wilson site is occupied. Gate is compromised. Infected present near fences. Do not approach. Do not approach. Repeat. Do not approach. Then I shut the transmitter back down. Tasha listens and nods once. That is honest, she says. People will still come. I answer, then we plan for that. Over the next 2 days, we do not sit still. We move equipment deeper into the strongest rooms. We block windows from the inside with shelving and metal panels. Connor rigs a manual way to start the generator only when needed, so it cannot be triggered by a grid flicker and announce itself at random. Aaron builds a ration plan that assumes no resupply. Mia maps the site paths and marks zones we do not enter because they have too many blind corners. Tasha teaches us simple rules for contact. No one approaches an unknown person outside the fence. No one opens doors for sob stories. No one fights over the fence line. If someone arrives, we watch first, speak second, decide third. Every decision costs something. Pike tries to regain control in small ways. He talks to Mia when he thinks nobody is listening, pitching the idea of building a community, setting up a message board, calling people up, making a safe haven. He tells Aaron that she would be perfect as logistics lead if she joins his plan. He tells Connor that people will pay for power and that this mountain could be the center of a new economy. Connor shuts him down with one sentence. This is not a business. Aaron shuts him down by ignoring him and writing another line in the ration log. Mia shuts him down by staying close to Tasha and not giving Pike a private moment again. On the fourth night up here, the wind shifts and carries sound from far below. Not sirens, not engines. Gunshots, spaced out, echoing through canyons, then silence. The basin is darker than it was before. The pattern of city lights looks torn, with only a few bright clusters left, isolated pockets running on backup power. I stand outside under the towers for a few minutes, looking down, trying to anchor my mind in something measurable. The mountain air feels clean, the sight lights blink, the generator is off, the fences stand. Infected move in the yard occasionally, wandering aimless. The city below feels farther away than it ever has. Tasha joins me at the door and says, "You still want to believe it stabilizes?" I keep my eyes on the valley and answer honestly. I want to believe it stabilizes because the other option means this is permanent. She nods once. Plan for permanent anyway. That is what we do. We treat every day as if no rescue is coming. We treat every transmission as a risk. We treat every stranger as a possible threat, not because we enjoy it, but because we watched what happened to the people who pretended the world still follows old rules. In the end, the mountain does not save us with comfort. It saves us with distance and hard choices. The relay station stays alive in fragments, short windows of signal that do not invite a crowd. The generator stays quiet more often than it runs. The doors stay locked. The fences stay watched. The city below keeps dimming, block by block, until the basin looks less like Los Angeles and more like scattered islands of light separated by miles of dark.